Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Greetings, space travelers. Happy Halloween. Welcome home. You just tuned your dial to Spaced Out Radio, the only place where you can own the night. I am your host, Mr. Rob G, filling in for Dave Scott, who's taking the youngin' trick-or-treating tonight, has spending some time with the youngin'. And we're going to be broadcasting to you on our terrestrial affiliates across North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, KNPL, and Odyssey Radio. Remember, you can access our archives for free at youtube.com/spaced out radio. And while you're there, think about hitting that subscribe button. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Spaced Out Radio, where our website is spacedoutradio.com, where the options are endless. You can stay up to date with the SOR Newswire, get some official Spaced Out swag, plus rock out to some Bumblefoot, and so much more. We have an awesome, spooky show for you tonight. Once again, happy Halloween. So glad you guys are here with us tonight. Did you guys go out to any, do any Halloween festivities tonight? I don't know. Look in the chat. We'll see what you guys are talking about. Are you handing out candy tonight? My lady is out there handing out candy as we speak while I'm doing this show. Didn't get to scare anybody this Halloween. But we might have some tricks and treats for you a little later on today. We are going to also be joined here by Dirty Phil, who's going to probably, I can only anticipate, whipping up something spooky for us today. So let me go ahead and add Phil to the screen. And we're going to welcome everybody into the chat. Let's see what we got here on this Halloween spooktacular. I can almost guess who's first. Oh, surprise. We have Robert Lamont Jr. with the gold tonight on this crazy, spooky Halloween night. Then we have Kathy Evans taking home that silver. And we have Julie Farrell taking home the bronze. And let's go ahead and welcome everybody else in here tonight on this great, spooky, scary Halloween night. Dino Bravo fan, thanks for coming in. Happy Devil's Night to everybody from the East Coast of Canada. Nice. To Mothman, boo. Just boo. Okay, got you. Then we got Raceman talking about Sister Julie, and happy Halloween to everyone. Let's see. Yeah, we don't get trick-or-treaters in my neighborhood. We're on the 2-lane road, no sidewalks or streetlights. Now, we'll talk about that in a minute. It's kind of strange how trick-or-treaters, the numbers have gone down over the years, but we'll talk about that. Let's see. We have Samantha Hazelwood Gray. Yo, happy Halloween. Okay. Cosmic Flower. Happy Hallows Eve. Happy Hallows Eve to you too. Jessica S. with all kind of hand pink waving pumpkin emojis, and yeah, it's going down. Let's see. Getting dressed for the show. Well, I don't know, man. We have tricks and treats today soon, so we'll see what happens. I don't know. We have Karen in the Woo Train. Thank you for coming in and joining us on this Halloween night. We have Brown Dwarf. Happy Halloween. Happy Halloween. Steve Edmond. Happy Halloween. SOR and Dave. Yeah, Dave is out with the kiddo trick-or-treating, getting them some good candy for the night and probably scaring, who knows, that gruffy beard that he has right now, probably scaring a whole lot of people right now. We got Kurt M. Thank you for coming in, Kurt M. We have Jenny Whitebear. Thanks for joining us, Jenny Whitebear. Happy Halloween, Paul Holland. Hi, all. Halloween last night for me here in Brisbane. Okay, nice. Let's see. We have... Let's see. Who else do we have? Oh, we got Black Dragon, Simplify SOR in the house. We got Lead the Bee. Lead the Bee. Happy Halloween. Thank you for coming on in. Let's see. Lightwalkers. Hey, I'm Michelle from Carolina. Steve Stockton's 60th birthday. Let's wish him a happy Halloweeny birthday. Happy Halloween, Steve Stockton. To have a birthday on Halloween, that just goes further into the Steve Stockton lore, as you already know. Those spooky stories that Steve has. Yeah. Let's see what else we got here. We have Patrick Noble. Thank you for coming in, Patrick Noble. Happy Halloween. Van Gold. Thank you for coming in. Happy Halloween. Okay, let's see what we got. Roger Murray. Happy Halloween. Happy Halloween. Gizmo. Thanks for coming in. Hello, Dave and Trick or Treaters. And I say Dino Bravo fan. I'm going to say it again. Dino Bravo fan, thanks for coming. Paramore, thank you for coming in on this Halloween night. Maybe we'll get a little spooky a little later. I don't know. Lulu Bell, thanks for coming in. All right, D. Henderson, thank you for coming, D. Henderson. Mary R., thank you for coming. Millennium. Hello, Dave. Hello, fellow space travelers. Chris 716. What up? Happy Halloween, Chris. Pam Harris. Hey, Dave. Boo. Crystal J. Thanks for coming. Hi, everyone. Cielo. Hello. Anna Boline. Boo. SOR peeps. Roy the Boy. Hi, Dave. Little Cam 51. Welcome. Happy Halloween. Might get spooky tonight. Might get a little spooky here at SOR. I don't know. SDRG. Evening, y'all. Griff. Howdy, y'all. And we got Lightwalkers. Thanks for coming in. Lulu Bell. Happy Halloween. Thanks for coming in to Spaced Out Radio tonight. Vastly Impeller. Yo, Dave. Hey, all. W. David Page. Hi, all. Welcome, David. Michael Fontaine. Hello, everyone. We got Mary R. with ghost emojis. Doug Shelby. The Doug Shelby. Got to do it for Dave. Happy Halloween, fellow SOR heads. Angels Are Life. Nikki. Good evening, Rob. Hello, all SORians. Happy Halloween. Laura Lobbs. Hello. Nick Atkins 10. Hello, everyone. Welshammer. Cheers, Rob G and all from BC, Canada. Carl Bittner. Hi, Rob, and all you spaced out peeps will mostly be listening in the background tonight. There'll be a time where you might want to tune in to the screen a little later. I'm just saying. Okay, what do we got here? It's like Griff, welcome. Happy Halloween. And Derek Galloway. What does Derek got to say? I weighed her candy on the scale, almost 10 pounds. Okay. See how much of that you give out this year, Derek. Let me know. Eugene Braxton. Hey, Rob G, Dave, and Spaced Out Crew. Derek Galloway did his first live video. We got to go and check that out. All right. Almost. Okay. Just another guy named Harry. I ate all our candy and now I'm bored. Happy Halloween, everybody. Yeah. They had to keep me away from the candy because apparently kids are going to come by and got to give it to the kids. So, yes, we'll see what happens. Whatever they don't get, though. Think you know where that's going to go. Let's see. Patrick Noble saying, Filthy. Filthy is definitely in the building tonight. Okay. All right. Roger Murray giving us some history here. November 5th, 1975, Travis Walton's abduction, fire in the sky. Good information for those who may not have known for sure. Yeah. Dave Scott shape-shifted into Rob G. And maybe I'll put his background up, man, because usually when I do this, I'm in his studio. So maybe I'll do that. Let's see. We got President Zaddy talking about F.U. Rob G. Well, F.U. Zaddy, happy Halloween, and congrats on being the SOR trivia winner over the weekend. We did put your name up with fire emojis as promised, and now somebody has to take down Zaddy. And maybe you might be able to do that tonight. Let's see. I don't know. Okay, let's see what else. Okay, we got Brad Ford saying, hey, all. Hey, Brad Ford. Mr. David Devine broadcasted. I was just over there on his show. Awesome show, Dave. Thanks for coming in and participating. Happy Halloween, sir. Susan Alloway, happy Halloween, all. Ghost emoji, ghost emoji. Rat Sass. Heidi, all. Magnus, thanks to Mothman. Thanks for coming, Magnus. Happy Halloween. Neuralstream, happy Halloween. Facebook user, good evening. Happy Halloween. The Ferret. Ooh, happy Halloween. Love it. Wes H. Good evening and happy Halloween. Same to you, Wes H. I think we're almost down to the bottom. CS, happy Halloween. Mr. Sam Sheeran. Hey. Happy Halloween for Mr. Sam Sheeran. Right back at you, sir. Kira, I am. Ghost emoji, alien emoji. Happy Halloween, all. Gnome emoji and emoji I can't pick out right now. All right. And let's see. Catherine Jones. Hello, all. Happy Halloween. Science Melinda. Hello, happy Halloween. Okay, Alan Dagan, happy Halloween. Thanks for coming. All right. Halloween is jumping tonight. We're almost down to the bottom though. Paranormal Pixie Laura. Thoroughly disgusted with Halloween and the lack of participation in our area. Pretty sure it will be the last year we decorate. Yeah, I can feel your pain there. I feel your pain.
I just cut a pumpkin once a year, Mrs. Filth and I.
This is Phil. So Phil, you said you cut one this year. What did you do?
Yeah, her and I do one each year. She also does one. They have a contest thing at her work, and it's kind of funny. The running joke is she kept winning for like 4 years or something like that in a row, and then basically she did something really simple so that somebody else could win. It was kind of like the like slaughter rule. It was like, okay, you're not allowed to win there anymore, Mrs. Filth. So
so you guys are doing, because my work is pretty bad. So you guys must be doing excellent top level work then on these jack-o'-lanterns.
she works in a florist place, so they got all these Halloween things they do, and all the people can come in and buy all the Halloween and Christmas junk and all that fancy dancy stuff. So
That's awesome.
But I do simple jack-o'-lanterns, nothing fancy.
Yeah, I've seen some of that fancy stuff, and it just blows my mind. I'm like a kid when it comes to cutting a pumpkin, man. I'm really not good at all.
I'd like to try a watermelon.
Yeah,
I've seen that's getting popular, watermelons. And then we had Varla on the show last Thursday, and she was talking about it was like turnips and things like that they were using. It was all gruesome. So I think next year we're gonna try something a little different. But I don't really get a lot of kids around here. I went with my cousin and my nieces and nephews out today, and I'm rambling. I apologize. But I gotta finish the story. And we went out, and there was we live in Canada. It's cold, so some people had their little portable fire pits going. It was kind of nice. So all the adults are hanging out there, and if all the kids had a good time. Some of the people around my block put up some pretty good Halloween stuff.
Yeah, and I'm kind of with Paranormal Pixie Laura on this one. It's just not a lot going on out there these days, but it's kind of sad. But we're gonna have a good time here tonight. I mean, if you didn't have kids coming to the door today, you didn't get to get out to that Halloween party. We're gonna have a little party here. We're gonna have a little fun, and hopefully you walk away from this show feeling better about your Halloween night. Let's see. Just another guy named Harry. Welcome.
Oops, I forgot my water.
Yeah, take your time.
I can do water.
Let's see. So many names. Let me see. If I miss you, I didn't mean to. Bomber, thank you for coming in. I see you, Bomber. I see you. Moon Freedom, thank you for coming in. Happy Halloween, everyone. Let's see. The Demon, wind gone, gonna shelve the sweaters. Woo, I don't know where you're at, Demon, but we're just pulling ours off the hanger right now. It's freezing out here for a change in California. Okay. Well, that looks good, Vent, and let's see here. Yeah, so Halloween, right? So it's been crazy over the years, and I've talked to people about this. Obviously my childhood is way in its past, but we talked about thank you for that, Catherine Jones. I love that. Thought that was a pretty good show too. Thank you. We talked about how over the years kids have just disappeared from the streets. We sit up here and we set up candy for the kids. Probably will end up with most of this tomorrow morning. I'm almost sure of that. Where have the kids gone? What are they doing now? What are they doing? You know, they did trunk or treat. I know that was a thing for a while. I don't know if they still do that because I don't have kids that young to know if that's still a thing. I know they were also transitioning trick or treating over to the malls where, yes, they were creating a safe place for kids to go and get their candy. And, but I don't know if this is a thing. And I brought this up earlier when I was talking to my buddy David Devine. You know, it seems like with the last time my kids were talking, well, we talked about trick or treating. They were more happy with us just going to buy the candy from the store, and they'd take that candy and they'd either sit at home and you know, give it out to other kids or find other things to do. And I don't know, is this a thing? Is that what kids are doing across the globe? Let me know, please, because that would be kind of crazy if that's the case. And it would be, you know, it'd just be kind of sad because I remember when we were kids, at least when I was a kid, and I'm sure a lot of people could resonate, the streets used to be packed with children. I mean, every single block after block after block would be just hundreds and hundreds of kids crisscrossing the streets, you know, with parents following in cars. And you'd have pillow sacks, literally pillow sacks full of candy. By the end of the night, you'd come home, everybody would pour their candy out on the table. The parents would go ahead and sift through it, make sure there weren't any bad things in there, and then also nab their favorite candy off the top of the pile, and then kind of leave you with the rest. And you kind of just got to have a free for all with candy for the rest of the, you know, the next week, maybe, if you could stretch it out that long. I have brothers and sisters, and we would have, you know, is one of those things you never want to be the one that is out of candy first. If you're the one that's out of candy first, you're just it's gonna be pretty rough. And then also we used to sit there and we used to trade candy, you know, because maybe my brother didn't like paydays, but I love paydays. Maybe he didn't like almond joy, but I liked almond joy, right? And you always pawned it off on the youngest one that just didn't understand any of this, and so you'd trick them out of out of their best candies. Like, oh, this one is good. You really want this one? And yeah, and that's what we used to do. I don't know if I was the only one that did that. Please don't make me feel like I am. Please tell me other people did the same thing to their siblings when it came to candy bartering at Halloween. Please tell me. Please, please, please. Let me go ahead and take a look through the chat here. We are waiting on our guest for the night, John Russell. He should be here shortly. And so we're going to chat for a little bit and kind of fill some time here. But let me go ahead and see what you guys are saying in the chat. Let's see. Any opinion on what's up with kids today and the candy? What's going on? Let's see. Let's see. Next, you'll see Generation X dressing up and delivering the candy to trick or treaters' homes, so they don't even have to leave their helicopters. Homes. Yeah, or maybe just some sort of new wave ordering on eBay. Not eBay, but Uber. Having an Uber driver take you around to different places and just using technology to their advantage. I don't know. Maybe I have to interview some kids and kind of find out what the heck they're doing on Halloween. Is it all about going to the parties now, or I don't know? But it's definitely something. It's definitely shifted. So let's see. Atomic fireballs are the bomb. Those ones used to always get left at the bottom of my bag there. I mean, I would have them. They're okay. But, you know, I'm more of a Snickers, M&M, peanut M&M, right? And those are the ones that usually go first. What I absolutely hate, and please tell me you're with me on this, is this is always at the bottom of my bag, and I never eat it. It's a candy corn. Please tell me there isn't someone out there that just loves candy corn. Candy corn is so the wrong candy to give a kid, I think. It's pure sugar for one. And it just isn't very good. Look, Annabelle line. I traded all my candy for chips and nuts. So chips and nuts, you traded the parents, or did you trade other kids? Let's see. Yeah, this was a big thing, right? So grandkids were so happy they received regular sized candy bars out in Oregon. See, and that was one of the things. I'm glad you brought that up, because when we were kids, right, what we used to do is we used to go to the rich neighborhoods, right? So and this is when, you know, we were teenagers, almost teenagers, where we were able to have, you know, get rides over there, and we would we go to the rich neighborhoods because they were always giving out full size candy bars, and sometimes other fancy things that you just didn't get uh, in the normal parts of the city, right, for trick or treating. So we used to play that game too, and that was a thing. That was a thing. You had to go out there and get it, but yeah. I'll tell you one thing. There was a lady in my neighborhood who I'd done some work for. I was a kid. I was still a kid at the time. She had us do her lawn. A nice lady named Linda, and she wanted some alfalfa laid out in her front yard. Just a small little patch of her yard. And so we came out there, and she hired us to do the work. It's just kids getting, you know, earning a few dollars. And so we had some garden tools. We took the grass out, and then helped her lay the alfalfa down. I remember she made us some some water with mint leaves in it, and lemon. And I thought it was so nasty and gross at the same time. But today, as an adult, I would die for it, right? But when you went to her house for Halloween, she was giving you pencils and erasers and things of that nature. She was giving you things for school. She wasn't giving out any candy at all. So she was, I always remember her. She was a very, very nice lady. Very, very nice lady. Mike A says, paydays. Yeah, yeah. We have paydays in our thing too. And I will tell you, this isn't brand placement, but I ate one right before the show. Payday. Payday. Let me see. Here in Florida, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. We stayed out till 10:30. Yes, Raji is always traded candy with brothers and sister. Yeah, that was the thing, right? As soon as we got it checked out by the parents, everything passed inspection. We regather that candy back in those pillowcases. Then we go to one of our bedrooms, sit right there on the floor, make a little pile, pour out the stuff, and say, hey, I don't like this. Do you like this? Okay, well, give me that. I'll take that for this. And do that little bartering. And someone always got the short end of the stick. Bomber, we did all that. We all did that. Candy bartering was 100% a huge part of Halloween. Right. You know what I mean? So what happens to the kids nowadays? I mean, these are still obviously these are stories that we get to tell and we're able to pass on to our kids and get to talk about, just like today. We haven't trick-or-treated in a very long time, decades, and we have these wonderful stories to tell about Halloween. I just don't think, unless I'm missing something and I don't know where the the interest is at for children now, and maybe I'm just out of touch, right? Sometimes you get too old to understand what it is, what fun is. But I don't think I do. I think I know what fun is. I think we're gonna have some fun a little later today for sure. Let's see. Yeah, we had lots of little kids in the neighborhood, teenagers hang out together at someone else's house. Yeah, and there would be some Halloweens as a kid. I used to live in Sacramento where all this would happen, and we would go clear across to San Jose, 2 hours away, and Halloween would be the same there. Just be a bunch of little kids. And they had a little costume. It usually would be ripped or torn by the end of the night. We were doing so much walking and moving around. Um, and we would be in groups of like at least 6, 7, or 8, kids per group, and there'd just be a bunch of different groups. So I know it got over to the safety side of things is I guess what the reasoning was for that to change. But we were pretty safe back then. We used to rip the streets, and then, like Derek said, we'd come home about 10:30 roughly. Um, and then a lot of houses would participate in giving out candy, and so that's what we're sitting here trying to do now. We're trying to keep the tradition alive, but I don't think it's being reciprocated. Let me see. We never ever have gotten trick-or-treaters here, but we aren't the neighborhood just on the road. I can't blame them. This place can come off as haunted because ... Well, it is. Okay. Yeah, there were always, and that was another part of it, right? So there was always the spooky house, and you've seen it on, kids' TV shows. There's always that one house that you won't go to. And then there were the ones who didn't want to play, who would turn off their lights and stuff, and that was always sad to see. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, and then so the honor system. Let's talk about the honor system, right? Because you'd come across the one house who just left the bowl out front and said, "Please take one." Like that was ever a thing. Please take one. Yeah, that was never a thing. That never worked out. But they put a big bowl right on, just assuming a kid was gonna take one and move on with the day. That didn't really happen. Then you had, just like myself, you had people out there who were willing to go the extra mile and scare the kids. That would be me. That's me. I'm the one who likes to get out there and scare the kids. Obviously tonight I'm working, but I would have been scaring kids tonight. But there's no kids to scare, so I guess I didn't miss anything, right? Yeah, Latro, DoorDash bringing candy, exactly, right? We're in this new age. They just hit a button and say, "Oh, bring me candy, trick or treat to me, bring trick or treat to me." That's just where we're at, man. That's where we're at. Krista J, great show earlier. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Laura Lobs. We gave out 400 pieces of candy on Saturday. I would trade jawbreakers for candy corn. That sounds like you. So you would trade your jawbreakers to receive candy corn? Okay. Well, there are some people that just love candy corn. They sell it every year for a reason. It wasn't as popular. And the ones that I used to always have at the end, it'd be the candy corn, and then the candies that come in the little orange wrapper, and then the brown or black wrapper. There'd be one of both. Yeah. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, but they're usually always at the bottom of the bag. Brown wrapper, they'd have like the twisty on the end, and then the black wrapper, twisty on the end. They were the same, I think the same type of candy. Maybe they were like peanut butter or something like that. I don't know. But I'll always be left with those. Those would be the last ones. And shoot, if you don't have no other candy to eat, you're forced with those. Science Melinda had about 50 kids come by trick-or-treating last night in Melbourne, Australia. Lots of fun. That's amazing. That's amazing. That's amazing. I say one of the benefits of kids not coming by as often now is that I get to eat the candy. I like, I'm sorry. I like M&Ms. I like Paydays. I like Butterfingers. And yeah. Let's see. Oh, Derek Galloway, sugar daddies. Yeah, I would keep those. The sugar daddies. Yeah, I would keep those. Bomber O Henrys. I would keep those and the Reese's. I'm a Reese's fanatic, actually. Van Gogh. No damn Three Musketeers, Milky Way. Yeah. I couldn't stand the Milky Way or Three Musketeers either. I don't like that nougat stuff. Magnus says candy corn rules. Well, hey, I wish I'd have known you, Magnus. I'd have dumped it all off on you. Like, hey, let me get your Skittles, then trade me your Skittles. I'll give you all my candy corn. Oh no, Paranormal, Milky Way, and Milky Way dark chocolate. That's first to go out my bag. Dark chocolate is out. Yeah, and it looks like we should be getting I think let's see. Yes, Rob G passing out king size candy bars. Yeah, no, I'm still passing out the bite size ones, Derek, but I'm letting
Americans
go.
are lucky; they can have paydays whenever they want. I got to go to a specialty store, get someone from the States to send me them.
Oh, you guys don't have paydays up there?
Paydays and whatchamacallits. It's a rarity.
Oh man, you guys are missing out. Oh my gosh. I guess
Big
that's
time, trust me.
and it's an invisible border that separates us, and it just always amazes me the things that you guys don't have that we have. It just blows me away. Like it's literally right here. And it goes both ways because you guys have things that we don't have either.
Hey Rob, did you send the email to John? Do you have his email?
To his messenger. We created a link with Dave, and he responded to it earlier and said he was ready to go.
He's ready to go apparently now.
All right, let me resend it to him then. It should, John, if you're listening, that link should be right there in your messenger. Just says StreamYard. But I am going to resend that, sir.
To remodulate the phase variance on the EPS manifold.
There you go.
Dave's out doing trick-or-treating things. Or abducted by aliens.
One of the two. I guess we'll hear if Halloween has made a comeback. There you go, John. Sent you another link there. It's in there. So we should be joined by John shortly here. And let's see. Yeah. Mike A, that's what I'm talking about. That's the one I'm talking about. So it's the unnamed candy, and it'd be in a black wrapper. It'd be in Halloween colors. So it'd be either black wrapper or the orange wrapper, but I think we're talking about the same thing. Had no label on it. I don't know who made it. And yeah, you leave out your bucket of candy, it's free game. Yeah. Unfortunately, some kids don't respect the honor program, man. They kind of just take it all. Let's see. Um, okay. Hey, John. Yeah, John is in the chat. Okay, John. Yep. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we have our guest for the night,
The
Mr.
legendary
John,
John Russell.
the legendary John Russell, stepping in. Hello, sir. How are you? How are you today?
Hi, Rob. How you doing?
Doing good here. I'm just sitting here talking about Halloween and how it used to be and how things have
Yeah,
just changed so much, and it's kind of sad, but I have to get with some kids to figure out what it is they do nowadays. So maybe when Dave comes back, he can kind of share what the Halloween experience is now. So
right.
we'll be able to
Well,
get
happy
that.
Halloween to everybody. I'm glad to be here and looking forward to telling everybody some spooky stories.
Well, that's exactly why I knew you were coming to do this. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. We know that you have had paranormal experiences, ET experiences. This is a special day. It's Halloween. So how do you want to get us started? You gonna get started with a good one? What are we doing? Let's go,
Well,
John.
I'll tell you, I'll start with a story. I've got 3 books published now and finished a fourth. It'll be out early in 2024, and I'm writing on a fifth. And so this is one of the stories from the new book that's gonna be coming out. This goes back to my childhood when I was a kid, and I agree with you. We used to love to go trick or treating. The streets were full, the neighborhoods were full. We had the wonderful Halloween carnivals, and at the elementary schools, and it was a more fun time. And I'm like you, I don't know where everybody's at now. I don't know where the trick or treaters have gone. I think we've all gone crazy with a safety issue. But anyways, when I was a kid, I had a paper route. And now if you get a newspaper, it's thrown by an adult. Somebody comes by in a car and tosses it at the end of your driveway. And when I was a kid, I had a paper route, and I ran the route on my bicycle in the dark. I had morning and evening routes, but at this particular time, I had a morning route, and that entailed that the newspaper company would bring by a stack of papers sufficient for my customers, drop it on the end of my sidewalk at like 3 in the morning. I'd get up at 3 or 3:30, go out there and drag the papers in, roll them, rubber band them, put them in the bag, then get on my bicycle, head out on my paper route. And of course, it's still pitch black, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we did have street lights in the neighborhood. So this one morning, I get all the papers ready and I get on my bicycle and I head out. And as I start pedaling, start my route, I'm aware that the air, the atmosphere, the energy is like really strange, really different. And it's like really thick. It's almost like I'm pedaling through water or something. And I'm like, this is really weird. What is this? What's going on here? So I get down to the end of the block, turn to the first street to begin throwing the long street on my route. And I have to backtrack and mention a little bit. Now, in the old days, when you were a paper boy, this is how you handled the paper route. They gave you a route book, and it had the name of every customer in there. And you went to the customer's house, knocked on the door, collected the money for the paper, and then wrote out a little receipt from this receipt book, right? So I knew every customer on my route. I knew the neighborhood. I was active in the neighborhood, knew everybody. And nobody at that time had any dogs, any large dogs, big dogs, anything like that, because I knew everybody in the neighborhood. So as I turn, I'm pedaling down the street, I hear this ungodly, freakish, weird, loud howl. And I know that nobody in the neighborhood's got big dogs, so I know it's not a dog. And I can't tell what it is. I don't know what it is, but the howl is not the howl from a dog. This is something like creepy, spine chilling, spine tingling. And I'm like, what in God's name is this? So it sounds like it's a little ways in the distance, maybe a block or two over, something like that. So I'm pedaling down the street, and all of a sudden, it's right behind me. I mean, right behind me. And I turn around and look, can't see anything. And then I also noticed that all the street lights are out. And I'm like, okay, well, this is another weird thing. So I get this weird feeling of pedaling through this bizarre energy, this bizarre atmosphere. The street lights are out, and then here comes this howling. And then the howling starts to move around, and it moves around instantly, like it would be right behind me, and then it's a block over and ahead of me, and then it's a block over and to the right of me, and it keeps doing that. So I turn the corner, and on the end of my block, there were a brother and a sister that were my age, and they had slept out in the yard, spent the night in the yard in blankets. So I'm pedaling up, and they flagged me down, like, John. And I come over and they said, have you been hearing this howling? And I was like, yeah, what is it? And we're like, we don't know. We don't know what's going on. What is this? So we're sitting there listening to it. And again, the howling jumps around all over the place instantaneously. And as we're sitting there talking, that we had alleys that ran behind the houses. And all of a sudden, it's at the mouth of the alley, right where we're at. And we're like, what do we do? And I said, well, let's run in your house. If it, whatever it is, if it comes to get us, let's go in your house. So we're standing there trying to figure out what to do. And this idiot friend of mine reaches down, gets a rock that's laying there by the curb, and chunks it at the alley and starts cursing it and yelling at it, go away. And I'm like, man, what are you doing? So we sit there for a little bit. It gets quiet. And I'm like, well, man, I got to throw my paper out. I got to go throw my papers for my customers. I can't sit here. Whatever it is, I got to go. And it got quiet. So I was like, okay. So I'm pedaling off, and this buddy of mine, ready for this, goes, whatever it is, I hope it gets you. And I'm like, oh my God. So here I am pedaling off into the dark with that thought in my head. And this howling continues. And it moves around just instantaneously all over the place. And I get way out towards the end of my paper route, and I have to ride in back of this large cemetery in town. And my last customer is way out on this dirt road past the back of the cemetery. So, Rob, as I'm riding past the cemetery, I'm literally whistling. I'm like, oh God, I know something's going to come running out of the cemetery and get me. So I'm whistling, riding along, and I still hear the howling. I throw the last customer, turn around to ride home, and I'm like, oh God, now I've got to ride this gauntlet home, see if I make it home safely. It hasn't got me yet, but who knows what's going to happen now. And the howling totally, completely stopped. Never heard it again. Next day I got up to run my route. All the street lights were back on. The atmosphere felt normal, and never, ever heard the howling again. So what was it? Was it Dogman? Was it a Bigfoot? Was it some strange weird guy? I don't know what it was, but that happened to me when I was a young man. So that kind of sets the tone for Halloween tonight.
Yeah, you're right. And I resonate with you on that because I had a paper route too. So I'm just going through my mind everything that you're saying, having to be up and crack of dawn, no, just the street lights out there, and then being out there just you delivering those papers, and then on top of it having that go on at the same time. I used to always think that something like that would happen to me while I was out there, but it didn't. But then just to hear you tell about your experience, it kind of just, it almost feels like I was there, because I know that the feeling of being out there by yourself, being so young. So yeah, that's crazy, man. That's crazy. So how long have you, this is our first time meeting here. So how long have you had these sort of experiences? How long is this going on?
Ever since I was the age of 5. And so that's when everything started. And then I became aware of my psychic gift at age 6. Excuse me. And Now I've been reading professionally for a worldwide clientele for over 50 years now, which is just crazy to me. And I've read for clients in over 40 countries. So it's been an amazing trip. It's been an amazing journey. And along the way, I've had well over 1,000 physical paranormal manifestations. Lots and lots of experiences. Authored 3 books about those. My latest book, 20 Ways to Increase Your Psychic Abilities, is something that clients have asked for a number of years. It's like, how do I get better? How do I have more experiences with the other side? How do I get guidance?
Mm.
So I wrote this latest book, 20 Ways to Increase Your Psychic Abilities. Each chapter has one tool or technique that I define, explain, tell you in detail exactly how to use it, how to learn it, and then how to get good at it, and the real world application of it. And the neat thing about this book is you don't have to have any prior knowledge. You don't have to have any expensive or unusual tools or techniques. You don't have to be above average in psychic ability or whatever, because I'll take you by the hand and teach you exactly what to do to learn things. The first chapter is on how to learn psychometry, which is one of the easiest things there is to teach. And so each chapter I go through and I teach you dream interpretation, just a number of things, a ton of things. And it's selling like hotcakes. I'm getting a lot of good feedback on it. People are telling me, I had a Swedish client I read for this week, and they were telling me, man, I've used some of the techniques in the book and they're working for me. It's working for me. So that's one of the things that's happening now. And then, like I say, got a 4th book in the can. It'll come out early next year, and working on my 5th book. So doing the readings, still doing some paranormal investigations, writing. Just today, drove over to Lady Lake, Florida, to a beautiful library there. Was invited to give a talk there, gave a talk and sold books and signed books there. Had a lot of fun. And now here I am with you great people tonight, and we're going to have some more fun.
Definitely. And that book, the latest book you're talking about on the psychic abilities, I want to take a look at that, because I have always felt like that pretty much every person on the planet as a human being has the capability of tapping into that part of their mind that allows them to experience that. And so for you to have the keys or the tools to get that, because I always say, there's some things that some people are born with their mind unlocked and able to do these things.
Right.
Some people, as life goes, have an experience that opens that part of their mind up. So it's different for different people. So I think it's awesome that you have a book that kind of takes you through those steps. Like, would you be able to give us an idea of one of those steps? Obviously you can't give us all, but just something that you have in there.
Well, I think the reason I start the book with the chapter on psychometry, I think that's the easiest thing that there is for most people to learn. I've taught that to a lot of people over the years, and I've been able to teach people to use psychometry successfully the very first time that they try it. And some people have had an accuracy rating on what they've picked up from an object that I gave them of 80 to 90% first rattle out of the box. Wow. And so I teach people there's a real easy component to learning psychometry. You need a partner, but it can't be just any partner. You got to be somebody that has good memory. You don't want the friend that forgets their car keys every day, doesn't know where their car keys are. You want somebody that's aware, that's got a good memory, and so on and so forth. And then you need any object that has meaning to you, that you know the history of, that you've owned a long time, so on and so forth. And then in the book, in detail, I tell you how to work together as a team. And one gets the object and then begins to you don't censor yourself when you're doing this. You don't second guess yourself. You just start saying, well, I smell this aroma, or I get this feeling, or I see this scene, or whatever. And you keep doing that. You don't have the other person give you feedback initially, because you want to just do this without censoring yourself and without second guessing yourself and without somebody telling you, no, that's wrong, or I don't remember that. What you do is you go through the entire session, and then at the end you get the feedback. And the reason it's important that people don't get feedback during the session is because a lot of times we forget things in our own lives. We think we have good memories and we think we remember everything, but we don't. And we forget things in our own lives. So if I've come up with a scenario based on this object of yours that I'm holding, and you go at the end of the session, you go, no, that one doesn't ring a bell for me. The reason that you write down everything as you're going is because in time, as you look at those things, something may come back to you and you go, oh, yeah, 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 I know what that was now. Mm-hmm. And an example of that, I did psychometry for a friend of mine once, and he said, can you use any object? And I said, yeah, as long as it's something that has a history that you know it's belonged to the family, it has some type of meaning. So he dug around in his father's toolbox and gave me this object from his father's toolbox. Best I remember, I think it was like a tire gauge, but it belonged to his father. It had a rich history. He kept it, and so on and so forth. So I held the object and I began to give him the impressions of things that I got from the object. And he was able to validate everything except one thing that I told him. And I told him about this kerfuffle that his father had had at work with either a coworker or his boss, whatever it was. And this disagreement they had had, especially a falling out over money. And he couldn't relate to that at the time. He couldn't remember it. Everything else he could validate, but he couldn't remember that. And he said, well, let me think about this. And so about a week later, he got back to me and he said, I just remembered what you're talking about. And you were exactly right. And the details of what you said are just unreal. And he said, I'd forgotten about it. I had completely forgotten about that episode in my father's life. So that's why you write everything down. And that's why you keep an open mind about things and things that you're not certain of. You go back, you research and say, okay, does this click at some point? Does this make sense at some point? So that's the start of the book, and it's real easy to do. And then there's real world applications of that, so that it's not just a parlor trick. You could go to somebody that you're not real sure if this person's a friend of yours or not, and so you see something in their home or something they're using. Oh, that's a beautiful pen you have there. Is that a fancy expensive fountain pen, or is that cost a lot of money or whatever? No, have you owned it a long time? Yeah. Can I see it? Can I hold it? And you hold it and you tune into that friend of yours and you go, oh, they're backstabbing me. They're not a true friend. They're not. So it has a real world application to it. So that's just one of the things in the book. And then, like I say, I get into dream interpretation. I get into how to make your own amulets and talismans. Just a ton of stuff. There's a lot of material in the book. And my first two books are the storyteller books. This book people have described as kind of like a textbook. And people are telling me, man, there's so much material in here and it's so rich. And there's so many things to do and so many things to try. And even after I've read through a chapter and studied it and begun to practice it, I still want to go back to it and go over it again and again. So it's got a lot of wealth of stuff in it. People are really going to enjoy it, and it's really going to help them. It's really going to help them advance.
Yeah, definitely. I can agree from what you just described there. It definitely sounds compelling, makes me want to get into it. And like you said, you give real world, uh, uh, ways to apply it to real world situations. So
Right.
I think that's awesome, John. What we're going to do right now is we're at the top of the hour. We're going to go ahead and pause for the first break. And then
Okay.
we'll be back with our awesome guest here, John Russell, going into more psychic stuff and maybe dip into some spooky stuff. We'll do that in hour two only here on Spaced Out Radio. We'll be right back. All right, everybody. Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio not after hours. This is actually Dave's show. So this is Spaced Out Radio, hour number 2, with me, your host, Mr. Rob G, filling in for Dave Scott while he's out trick-or-treating with the kiddo. And we have Dirty Filth on the art over there. We're going to see what he's creating, and we don't know yet. We'll see. And we have psychic and author and spooky storyteller John Russell here with us tonight on this Halloween spooktacular here at Spaced Out Radio. Before we jump into these stories here, I just want to talk to all the space travelers out there considering taking the next step. Join the SOR Space Travelers Club for as little as $5 by joining our Patreon. Get some official Spaced Out swag at spacedoutradio.com. So, John, you're on a roll. You got us going. And are you here for hour 3, or I know we'll be here for hour 2 at least. Are you here for hour 3 as well, or?
I'm here for hour 2 at least. I don't know about hour 3, probably. At least for part of it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Because there might be some tricks and treats later on in the show. We have some things planned. So we'll see. We'll play it by ear and see how it goes.
Yeah, we'll play by ear and see how it goes. So in the meantime, let me get you back to another spooky story. And this one comes from a little later in my childhood. When I was growing up, we lived in West Texas, and we didn't have air conditioning. We had a swamp cooler, an evaporative cooler. And if it wasn't too late in the year, it wasn't getting too hot yet, a lot of times we'd turn the cooler off or didn't need the cooler, and we would just open up the windows in the living room, and we'd sit there and just listen to the sounds of the night. Sometimes my mother and I would sit there together and watch TV. Sometimes we'd turn the TV off, listen to music, just sit there in the dark with the windows open, listen to music and listen to the sounds outside. Sometimes we'd turn the music off, turn the TV off, and just sit there and listen with the windows open. Just listen to the sounds of nature as night began to activate, and the crickets started chirping, and the breeze was blowing, and so on and so forth. Sometimes we'd talk about paranormal matters. Sometimes we'd talk about world events and politics and things, and sometimes we didn't talk at all. We just sit there and listen to the silence and listen to nature. And we were doing that one night. We were sitting there early in the evening. It was dark. And we heard this Mexican music come floating in through the window. And we looked at each other and we're like, what in the world is this? Where's this coming from? And we sit there and listened, and the music would rise and fall in volume and rise and fall. And we figured out over time there was a Mexican nightclub down the road several blocks, and on Cinco de Mayo they were celebrating. They had a big band there, and when the conditions were just right, when the breeze was blowing just right, it would blow the music through our window, and we would hear this music of awesome, wonderful music from all these blocks away. And we're like, oh my God, this is fantastic. So I mentioned this as I got a little older. I mentioned this to a buddy of mine, that my mom and I used to sit there with the windows open, and we could hear this Mexican music coming from this nightclub on Avenue M, all these blocks away when the conditions were just right. And this buddy of mine got a funny look on his face. And I said, what's the deal? And he said, I have a story for you about that nightclub. I said, okay. And now this buddy of mine, he is not prone to any type of exaggeration or stories or hysteria or believing in legends or folktales or anything like that. And I knew his family well. They were all solid, stable people that weren't given to any kind of hysteria or anything like that. And it was a female relative of his. I believe it may have been his mom and maybe some other family member, but there was at least one family member there. And they told him the story. They were at the nightclub, and this guy entered that no one knew, nobody had ever seen. He was like just ultra, super handsome, super well built, and absolutely dressed to the nines. Had on this tailored suit that was just obviously super expensive, fit him super well. He moved with this air of confidence and authority. And the only weird thing was this guy was so good looking, had on this expensive suit, but the suit pants were way too long and drugged the floor and covered up his shoes. And everybody was like, what in the world? How could somebody that's obviously rich to afford this expensive suit, so good looking, so confident, just exuding this confidence, how could they run around with these pants legs dragging the floor? What in the world? So as the evening goes on, he starts dancing with all the women in the club, and he's like this supernaturally good dancer to boot, right? Handsome, expensive suit, great dancer. And he's danced with all the women in the club, and the women are just oogling him and just enamored with this handsome guy. And of course, the guys are, a little envious, a little jealous, so on and so forth. And so he's sitting at a table with a woman, and he is laughing, and they're drinking beer and everything. And he crosses his leg a little too vigorously. And as he does, his pants leg flies up, revealing his hoof. And so everybody sees this. People start screaming and start yelling and jumping up, overturning tables and everything. He looks down, realizes what's happened, pulls his pants leg up to reveal both hooves, not feet, and not shoes, but hooves, and then jumps up and runs out of the place and vanishes into the night. Now, my friend tells me his relatives tell him this with total, absolute, complete sincerity. I swear to God, I was there. I was an eyewitness. I saw this with my own eyes. And I would beg my friend, I said, let's go to that club and introduce me to the owner or something so I can hold a paranormal investigation there. Let's see if we can conjure up the guy with the hooves again, And he would not do it. He would not take me there. But he swears to me that story is absolutely 100% true.
Yikes.
Dancing with the devil, baby.
Exactly. I was trying to think of what type of creature, what do they call that? Half man, half
Right,
I don't know.
A satyr, the half man, half goat or whatever. Yeah.
Jeez. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
man, you got us going. That's pretty I haven't heard yeah. You got me going. What else do we have? I know you have so many other stories. What else do we have? Said that isn't a fawn. That's right, Doug
lot
Shelby.
of stories. Got a lot of stories. We have I've experienced so many things over the years, and not devil is Capricorn, all of that. Not everything is that spooky, and over the years as I grew up, I learned that a lot of the things that we think are scary or think are spooky are actually just kind of part of the normal state of affairs out there, spiritually or paranormally. And we get scared of a lot of things we shouldn't be scared of. There's a lot of things that we misinterpret, so on and so forth. But one of the stories, I'll share this with people. Some people may have heard this before when I was on, and some of the new listeners or whatever, or people that missed me the other times, may not have heard it. So I'll repeat this again. It's always a favorite. People always love this story. This is going up later in my adult years, and I had this little. My sister had these two little dogs, little scruffy dogs, and like little small dogs. And one of them was always sick. The little dog was always ill. And my sister and I had both gotten divorced. We had both moved back home in our family home, ostensibly to take care of my mother, who was becoming ill and becoming bedfast. And I think more than that, as much as that was necessary, my sister and I both just kind of needed a soft place to fall, just kind of a place to recover from the trauma of our divorces and everything we were going through and so on and so forth. So I had this big red Doberman named Elsa, big old muscular 100-pound Doberman, most wonderful dog in the world. I had her in an outside pen there attached to the house. And the family house had an apartment attached to it that my grandmother lived in when she was alive. And then my sister was living in there. I was living in the main part of the house. So as I said, my sister has these two little dogs. And one of the dogs is always sick, always ill, always having to go to the vet and get some kind of medicine. Had all kinds of allergies, had to take allergy shots, everything else. So my sister worked, and she would bring in the little dogs, put them in bed with my mother, and they would stay there most of the day, and they'd hop down occasionally to go get something to eat or drink or whatever, and then go back, and my mother would pick them up, put them back in bed. So I had been out doing something, I don't know, and I came in, made myself a sandwich, sitting there in the dining room, said hi to Mom, made myself a sandwich and sit down. And I heard one of the dogs jump down off the bed and start coming down the hallway into the dining room area there. So I turned my head to the right to look over my right shoulder, look at the doorway to watch a little dog come into the dining room. And he came in, and I spoke to him, and he was walking behind me going toward the kitchen. We had their food and water bowls in there, so he was going there to get something to eat or drink or whatever. So as he walked behind me, I turned my head to the left to watch him continue to walk into the kitchen. And when I turned my head to the left, there was this woman standing there, bent down with her face about 2 feet away from mine. And it startled me. It didn't scare me, but it startled me. And I jumped up, knocked my chair over, threw my sandwich, which fortunately landed on the table. So I still got to eat my sandwich. And the woman immediately vanished. And I can tell you what she looked like, how she was dressed, what she had on. She was that solid and that real and came through that strongly. So, of course, it scared the death out of the little dog. He skittered into the kitchen, and I picked my chair up. My mother said, "What happened? What was that?" I said, "Well, I just saw a ghost, and it startled me, and I knocked my chair over." And this was normal, everyday affair in our lives. You know, this is how I grew up, and this is how we live. And she said, "Oh, well, was there any message from the ghost?" And in a split second time, I realized that there was, and I realized I couldn't tell my mother, couldn't tell my sister, because it would break their heart. And this is what the woman communicated to me in that split second that I saw her. She said that the little dog was going to die in a couple of weeks, and she was following him around to comfort him, to get him used to her, and for us to know that she was going to cross him over so that he wouldn't cross over by himself. Wow. And that she was going to take care of him in the transition. So sure enough, a couple of weeks later, the little dog died in his sleep. And as a lot of families do, we buried our pets in the yard, our deceased pets in our yard. So, like I say, he was a little small dog. And one of the things that he loved, he had this big green squeaky frog toy that he played with. And then there was this bathrobe that my sister had given him. And he liked to wrap his toys up in that and lay in it and sleep in it and do all this. So she said, "Well, I'll wrap him up in this bathrobe, and we'll put the frog toy in there." That was his favorite toy. So a little small dog like that, you know, when you're wrapping him up in a bathrobe, you roll it up and fold it over, roll it up and fold it over, roll it up and fold it over. So this is a really solid compressed package that there's no way anything's escaping, getting out of or whatever, anything like that. And she put the frog in next to his body. So all that's wrapped up. We go in the backyard, dig a hole and bury him in the hole, and then we fill it in. And I put a big, large rock over the hole so no predators will dig him up or anything like that. And so much time has gone by now that the grass has completely grown over his grave. The yard is solid. The lawn is solid. If you didn't know where he was buried, you'd never know had been a hole dug there, wouldn't know there was a grave there. The grass is just pristine. The lawn is just immaculate. You wouldn't know there's anything there. So I'm out walking one day, and I come up the driveway, and my sister's not home. She's at work. And as I come up the driveway, I stop at the pen and say hello to Elsa, my Doberman, and visit with her a little bit. And then I'm walking up the driveway to go in the house, and I look over in the backyard, and there's something on the lawn in the backyard. And I'm like, what in the world is that? So I walk over there, and on the little dog's grave is sitting that green squeaky frog toy. And I just couldn't believe my eyes. And I reached down, I picked it up, and it was definitely his. And I got down on my hands and knees, and I felt through the grass and felt around the dirt and everything. The dirt's intact, the grass is intact, everything's totally solid. I'm like, holy cow. Through all those feet of earth and through those wrappings of that robe, this frog toy has been teleported up to the surface of the lawn physically and is sitting there. So I grabbed this and I put it on the steps leading up to the apartment, so I know my sister will see it when she comes in from work. And I go in and I tell my mom what happened. And we're talking about how amazing that is. And so we hear my sister's car pull into the driveway, and the engine shuts off. The door doesn't open and close to the car. And Mom goes, how come she's not getting out of the car? And I said, I know why she's not getting out of the car. She's sitting there in the car. She's seeing that frog toy up on the step of the apartment, and she thinks she's hallucinating or what in the world is going on or this or the other. So she's trying to figure out what's happening. So finally the car door opens and closes. We hear her come into the apartment. She comes running into the house. She's holding the frog toy. She says, did you see this? And I said, yeah, I'm the one that put it there. She said, where did you get it? It was buried with the dog. How is this possible? I said, it was sitting on his grave when I came home out of the yard. She went out, got down on her hands and knees and dug around the grave. All the grass is solid. Nothing's disturbed. Nothing's been dug up. Everything's pristine. She's like, holy cow. So what we gleaned from that was that the little dog, either through his own agency or with the help maybe of the woman that was following him around, crossed him over, teleported this back up to us and said, hey, life after death is real. I'm here. I'm communicating. I made it. I remember you. I love you. I want you to know I'm here. And so that was one of the marvelous stories that I experienced with that teleportation of the frog toy coming up to the earth.
Man, so when you have these, like these are detailed occurrences. When you, so what is it? Like, what do you think our ability is to understand, I guess, or connect and understand to what's going on that other side? Like, what in your studies, what would you be able to tell us as far as the reason that they step out in that way to communicate with us? Like, what is like their real purpose of doing that?
Well, it's always to communicate, let us know that they're there. That gives us some evidence that we do live on after death, that the spirit survives the body. It shows us that they are able to communicate with us, and that they can cross from the other realm into this realm and give us that evidence that things do exist. And a lot of times it's just to say, hey, I made it. I'm okay. Other times it's to give us guidance, direction, warn us about things, make us aware of things that we need to be doing, so on and so forth. So there's always a reason for the communication, and it may not always be a deep reason. I tell people that sometimes you get a spiritual communication and it's kind of like a text message. You know, hey, I'm here. How you doing? Just want you to know I'm around. And no big deep thing. Just hey, I'm here. You know, like we do with each other. Yeah. We don't always have a big deep philosophical conversation with each other in our text messages. You know, it's like, hey, did you see the game? How about them boys? You know, and that's it. That's the extent of it. But it's a way to communicate, and it's a way to connect with another human being. And the same with messages from the other side. And then speaking of animal communication like that, one of the most dramatic that I've experienced, had a little cat. And this was at the time I had Elsa and I was still married. And we had this little cat. He was the neighbor's cat, but he hung out with us more than he hung out with the neighbors. A little gray striped tabby cat. He was just a kitten. He was a small kitten. And he was the sweetest and the smartest and the best little cat, just so marvelous. And I fell in love with this little critter. And I would pick him up in the house and I would hold him up and hold his little paw and we would dance. His little cheek would be next to mine. I'd sing to him and we'd dance, right? Dance around the house. And he would just purr. He just thought that was the greatest thing. And he was like a living Garfield. Like, this cat would eat anything. He would eat Doritos. He would eat lettuce. Just unreal. And he got this little pot belly that when he sit, it would literally touch the floor. He looked just like Garfield in real life. And he got up larger and larger, and he was just such a delight. And I just loved him so much. And again, this is in West Texas. And so it was Thanksgiving Eve night. And we had the front door open, and we had a glass storm door, but it had, you could raise the glass up, and then there was a window screen there so the breeze could come in. And it was such a warm night, we had the window up on the storm door, and where the breeze could come in through the screen. So it was dark outside, and I was sitting there watching TV, and Gizmo, that was the little cat, and we named him that after the character in Gremlins, yes, Gizmo. And so he went over to the screen door and began to frantically claw at the door and bang against the door and meow and won't out. I'm like, he had never exhibited any kind of behavior like that ever. And that had me bumfuzzled, but I was deeply involved in whatever I was watching on TV. And I was like, okay, just a minute. I'll get up in just a minute. Wait for a commercial. I'll get up and let you out. So he keeps on to the point that it's like there's no peace. This cat is driving me crazy. He's making noise. He's like banging on this door, clawing against this door, rattling it in the frame. I'm like, my God, okay. So I get up, I let him out. Go back to my TV. About 10 minutes later, the neighbors come and knock on the door and say, we're so sorry. Gizmo got hit by a car. He's laying dead out in the street. And my world was shattered. I love this little cat so much. And I'm trying to make sense out of why in the world was he so desperate to get outside only to meet his fate that way. And I couldn't figure it out, couldn't understand it. So there was nothing to be thankful for me that Thanksgiving. I was just devastated. So we went out and got his little body out of the street, and we made a little grave for him, buried him. And my daughter made a little popsicle stick cross, put his name on it, and we put that in the little grave. So my wife and I had divorced, and I had Elsa and went back to the family home. That was when we were there. And had been there so long that my mom had died, my sister had moved out, and I was still there. And so one weekend I was on my front porch, standing on a step stool. We had this real long front porch, about 30 feet wide. And I was standing on the step stool replacing a burned out light bulb. And as I was standing up there from around the corner of the house, now we didn't have any stray cats in the neighborhood. Hadn't seen a cat in the neighborhood forever and a day. And around the corner of the house, this gray striped tabby cat runs up on the porch, just meowing and meowing and meowing like crazy, and makes a beeline for me. And this cat is the spitting image of Gizmo, looks exactly like Gizmo if he was a full-grown adult now. And I nearly fell off the step stool. I was like, my God, look at this. And I get down, and he's just rubbing on me and loving on me. I mean, I'm physically touching this cat. And he goes to the door, and he starts clawing at the screen to get in. So I open the door, he runs inside, and I was washing clothes. And we didn't have a clothes dryer. We had a clothesline, hung clothes out on the clothesline. So the washing machine stopped. So I went in to get the clothes, take them outside and hang them out. And he's just rubbing around me and just loving on me and just talking to me. And I'm like, man, this is a Gizmo, I swear to God. So I go outside with the clothes basket, and he comes with me, and he's leaping up in the air and rubbing against the clothes basket in the air, rubbing against my legs. And we get out far enough that we're visible to Elsa in her pen. And she sees this cat and lets out this yelp that's almost like this scream of recognition, like Gizmo. And he sees her, runs over to the pen, lays down in front of the pen, starts pawing under the gate at her. She's pawing and dancing and wagging her tail and everything. I'm like, this is blowing my mind. This is the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. So I hang out my clothes. He's still over there by Elsa at the pen, just carrying on, and they're just like having this reunion. So I said, well, I'm stereotypical of the time. I said, I'll go in the house and get a saucer of milk and bring it out. And so I did, pour a saucer of milk, came out, called kitty, 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 went around the corner, cat vanished, cat was gone, never saw it again, ever. So all these years later, we've moved, and I've moved up to New York, and then we moved here to Florida. So it's been decades now that Gizmo's been gone. And over the years, I've had mobility issues, and long gone are the days that if somebody rings the doorbell that I could jump up and be there in a few seconds. Now it's going to take me, 5 minutes to get there. So there's no jumping up and looking out the window anymore. Those days are long gone. So in our house here, when we moved into this house, I installed motion sensor lights in the front and in the back, and one of them was right over my office window. And I get up usually pretty early, sometimes as early as 4 or 5 in the morning. I come in, fire up the computer and start my day, start checking client emails, check my schedule for the day, see what interviews I've got, see what clients I've got, so on and so forth. So I got up real early one morning, and as I'm walking through the house to come into my office, I see the motion sensor light go out through my office windows. So I make it into here, and I open up the blinds, and I look outside, and nothing's there. And I look, and I look, and I look, and nothing's there, and the light goes off. Nothing reactivates it again. I thought, well, that's strange. And so the day goes by, and we get to the evening, and I'm sitting in the living room through the hallway and everything I can see into my office. And my wife and I are watching TV, and it's dark outside, and she gets up to do something. About that time, the motion sensor light goes off again outside my office window. I said, hon, I can't make it. I said, would you run in there and see what's setting off that light? So she came in, she opened up the blinds, and she said, well, what on earth? And I said, what? And she said, there's this cat sitting out there staring at your office window, just sitting there staring at your office window. I said, what kind of cat? And she said, it's a gray tabby cat. I was like, oh my God, it's Gizmo. And she said he got up and walked off and just disappeared. And I said, okay, Gizmo has once again come back in the flesh to say, hey, I'm still here. I remember you. I love you. We'll be together again. So that's the story of Gizmo.
That's man, that's heartwarming, heart-wrenching at the same time. Oh man. So let me ask you this, because and I've asked other paranormal specialists this as well. So when in this place that it seems like, for instance, Gizmo is at, or it's right on the other side. So is that a neutral place, or is that the place that they stay for eternity, or do they transition from that place that they're in when they can visit and then go on to another place?
It seems to be, the best I can understand, it seems like that's where they stay, but it seems like there may also be different levels of where they're at. Like you say, they could transition to a different energy level or a different dimension or whatever, and kind of go back and forth. So it may be that there is a dimension that's closer to us, to where they can come through and make these manifestations, produce these manifestations. And then they go back to this realm that's a little farther removed, a little more removed from that. So best we know, best we can guess.
That makes a lot of sense, though.
Yeah.
It really does, especially when you put it like that. Yeah, maybe they're in that further place, and then they're able to step into that neutral place where they can interact, and then they go back. Dang, that makes a lot of sense. Well, you're on fire tonight, and this time has just been blowing by. So, you've had some real good stories here. Do you have a couple more for us? I know we're probably going to run right up to the end of the hour.
Oh yeah, I've got. I'll tell people about my first really strong guardian angel experience. I was a young man, and I had been living in an apartment by myself. And then for various reasons, I moved back home with my parents. And I was like this martial arts fanatic. I studied Kung Fu and Taekwondo and Tang Soo Do and Shotokan and Judo and just all kinds of things. And I was fairly proficient. I was fairly good. And I had a good sense of balance, and I could do all these spinning kicks and flying kicks and all this tumbling and everything from judo. And so that plays into the story. So anyways, I moved back home with my parents, and our next door neighbors, the man got dementia, and he became violent. He would take his cane and he would strike at his wife, and he would see things. He would hallucinate things. And oddly enough, I was the only one that could calm him down. She would call my mother and go, God, can you send John over? He's out of control. And I'd go over and he would respond to me. He would calm down. For the most part, he would talk rationally with me. And so I began to do little chores for him, things that she couldn't and that he could no longer do. One of those was shaving him. If she had asked me to come and give him a shave, I'd go over and give him a shave. He was always friendly and cordial with me, but he'd go eat nuts with her and go after her with the cane and all this kind of thing. It was really strange, really weird. And it was really sad to watch because this guy had been really intelligent, and he was a good chess player, and he owned his own business, and he did all these things, and it was just horrifying and really sad to watch his decline. So as he got worse and worse, they would ask me to help them out in the house and do more things for them. So one day she called my mom and said, can John come over? I've got these new drapes that I want to put up in the living room. And, you know, I can't do it. Obviously, my husband can't do it any longer. Can John come and take the old drapes down, put the new drapes up? I was like, sure, I'll be happy to. So went over, and he was in the den at the far end of the house, back of the house. And so the living room's up front. And she came up and had the drapes there and everything ready, and had the little step stool for me to get up on, had 3 or 4 steps to it. And she said, well, I'm going to go back and watch him, keep an eye on him, just holler if you need anything. I said, oh, no, I've got it handled. I know exactly what to do. I'll change everything out for you and come tell you when it's done. So I was up there on the very top rung of the step ladder, and uncharacteristic of me, I lost my balance. And as I lost my balance, I began to fall backward and to the left off of the step ladder. Now, all of this is happening in a split second. It's going to take a long time to tell you, but this is like a split second this is going on. So as I'm starting to fall, in my mind, I'm like, okay, due to my martial arts training, I'm going to torque my upper body to the right as I'm falling back to the left. And then I'm going to throw my body back to the left as I'm falling, and that'll position me as I fall. I'll land on my hands and feet, and I can catch myself, and I'll be okay. And it was totally workable. I knew I could do it from all the martial arts training, judo training, everything I'd done. So I torqued my body to the right, and I'm preparing to go back to the left as I'm falling. And all of a sudden, this large, strong hand physically catches me at my hip and lower back, stops my fall, and pushes me back up onto the step ladder and holds me steady there until I regain my balance. And instinctively, I just turned around to go, oh, thank you. And I said, oh, and stopped because there wasn't a soul in the flesh there. And it boggled my mind so much that I got down off the step ladder, ran through the house real quiet to see, and I knew the guy, he was incapable of doing anything like that. And this is a big, huge, strong hand. Knew it wasn't a woman. She wasn't strong enough to do anything like that. And besides which, if they had been there to steady me at the step ladder, the second the hand released me, I turned around and looked. There was nobody there, and there's no way they could have gotten out of the living room. It was the large living room. But nonetheless, I was like, I got to check this out. So I sneaked through the house real fast, go back to the den. He's sitting there watching TV. She's sitting there knitting or doing something. I'm like, wow. So I go back to the living room, get back up on the ladder, and say again, thank you. Thank you, guys. And I keep looking around thinking, well, maybe they'll show up. Maybe they'll appear. If they could manifest physically enough to literally stop my fall and hold me up, push me back up on the ladder and steady me, maybe they'll manifest, but they didn't. But that was my first really, really strong guardian angel experience where there was that physical intervention, that physical manifestation.
And do you feel like when you go out on investigations or go to, to a scene, do you feel that that it necessarily has to be somewhere that has been previously reported as, a place with paranormal activity, or do you find that there's paranormal activity everywhere?
Oh, there's paranormal activity everywhere. And the, people say, well, I just built a brand new house. How could it be haunted? Well, the land that you built on is as old as the earth is.
Yeah.
And read this book called The Practice of the Wild.
Okay.
The author talks about in this book, The Practice of the Wild, the author talks about places that we assume have never been inhabited or haven't been are unknown or unexplored or whatever. And virtually every place on earth at one time or the other, people have lived there, explored it, or whatever. So all places have this energy, and all places have people that have lived there, died there, passed through, whatever. So basically the whole earth has at some point or the other had some type of inhabitants there. So you have all these ghostly remnants of all these people and all these nature spirits and all these elementals and all these things. So every place is haunted, every place has spirits, every place is active. And then sometimes we wonder, why is this place more active at some times than at others? And the best explanation I've come up with for that, and people in radio especially understand this and it makes sense to them, is just like when I was a kid growing up in West Texas, young man, late teens, we met this guy and became friends with this guy that had a ham radio, shortwave radio. And on a good night with good conditions, when the conditions were just right, we could sit there in West Texas and talk to people in England and Australia and have a 15, 20-minute conversation, clear as a bell, sound like they were in the room with us. The next night, we did good to raise somebody across town. So you have these environmental conditions that affect those things. And I think that likewise, in the ether, in the spiritual realm, we have times when the conditions are just right. We get more evidence, we get more EVP, we get more ghost photographs, we get more direct communication. The next night we may go back to the same spot and maybe the conditions aren't as good. And maybe it's more difficult for those communications to come through. And we also have to take into account that spirits are not necessarily static in their attachment to a place. They may be coming and going, doing this, doing that, going to other places. So a spirit that may be usually at a place may be absent from that place one night and therefore not communicating. So all these variables enter in. But yes, all places are haunted. All energies are always there. When I was giving the talk at the library today, I told people, I said, look, you may not understand it, but I said, where we're sitting right now, there's spirits in this room, filling this room, and you're not aware of them because you're not tuned into them. And it's the same way that wherever everybody's sitting right now, there's radio waves going through the air invisibly that you don't see and you're not aware of, but there's country music in the air, and there's blues, and there's jazz, and there's rock, and there's metal in the air around us right now. And if we take a radio, plug it in, tune the dial, oh, there's a metal station. There's a rock station. There's a country station. Well, guess what? That music's in the air right now around us. We're just not tuned into it. And it's the same way with communication with the other side and with paranormal occurrences. They're there all the time, but we have to stop, meditate, do whatever we need to get ourselves in a receptive mode to tune into that realm and perceive that realm.
And I feel the same way, and I felt that way. And that's why I asked you, because just like you stated, there probably isn't a place on the planet where life hasn't come and gone. So there's going to be, and then once again, what you also stated is being able to tune into a frequency. And I believe that too. I think it's all about frequency and being able to, I mean, it's proof, just like you stated, there's music all around us and you won't get it until you tune to the frequency. That's awesome. Now, do you have in your experiences, have you come across something that you felt was completely like malevolent in nature as far as a spirit or entity that you've come across?
I never really have. I've done paranormal investigations since I was the age of 11. And I turned 70 next year, so I've been around this game quite a while now.
Yeah, looking good.
And all of this experience and all these investigations, all these manifestations that I've experienced, I've never had anything that I interpreted as malevolent, evil, satanic, demonic, or anything like that. For the most part, overwhelmingly, my experiences have been positive, protective, helpful, uplifting. And I talked about this today in my talk at the library that I gave. I think so many people misinterpret the experience that they have because we've been taught to fear these things. And particularly if you grow up in a certain religious attitude, you're going to view certain things as okay. and certain things is not okay. Even apart from religion, you're taught to fear certain things, or that certain things are of a certain malevolent origin or whatever. And that's not the case. And so we have all these misinterpretations of the experiences that we have. And one of the things that really blows my mind, so many people interpret paranormal events through the lens, through the eyeglasses, if you will, of horror movies. And there are so many people that don't realize that horror movies are entertainment and they're made up. There are people, excuse me, that honest to God think that, okay, The Exorcist, that movie's real. That really happened. This is the way things are with the other side. I got to be careful. I'm going to open up a portal to hell and all this. It's not that way. I'm telling you, it's not that way. I have investigated this my entire life. I've studied this my entire life. I've had these experiences my entire life. I had my first paranormal experience when I was 5. I became aware of my psychic gift at 6. I started paranormal investigations at 11. I began doing readings for friends and family at 15. By the age of 18, I was reading professionally. And so I have dedicated and devoted my life to this for way over 50 years. And I have never experienced anything like that. There's nothing out there like The Exorcist or anything like that. It just doesn't exist. And the so-called ghost hunter shows, they do a big disservice to us by giving people the false impression that that's what it's actually like to interact with the other side. And it's furthest from the truth. The interactions are not anything at all like that. There's not a bunch of demons out there waiting to grab you and carry you off. There's not a bunch of things waiting to bite you and scratch you and threaten you and so on and so forth. Like I say, I've done paranormal investigation since age 11. Never encountered that. Never. So my message to people is make sure you're not misinterpreting something that happens to you and just knee-jerk reaction. Oh, this is scary or demonic or it's going to hurt me or whatever. We have that mindset and we carry that mindset into things. So everything that happens, we view it as being that way, and it's not. So we have to learn to mitigate our reactions to things and get a better understanding of what the other side actually is. And the majority of experiences that people have are positive, they're good, they're helpful, but it scares them because they haven't been taught better, they don't know any better, or they misinterpret what's going on.
Hey, you make a lot of sense, John. You just do. You just really, you can tell that you have really, thought this stuff through, and you make a lot of sense. And I wish I knew you when I was a kid, because that would have probably helped me through a few times where, I was pretty scared. So,
Yeah.
but then when you position it like that, it just makes so much sense that it shouldn't be looked at that way. And I've heard other people say the exact same thing. But then I guess with that being said, this may be paranormal, but is there an element of like demon or demonic things out there that may not actually be categorized as paranormal or even relate to that? Are there some separate things out there that people may be perceiving or mistaking as paranormal that are actually something else?
Well, we have, you have to understand that we have the spirits of our deceased loved ones that are out there. We have spirit guides that we interact with. We have guardian angels that we interact with. And then there are beings, elementals, nature spirits, various other spirits, various other beings that we really don't know what are. They're not human. They've never been human. They're something else. They're not an angel. They're not a spirit guide, but they're intelligent. They're sentient. They have emotion. They have will. They have purpose. And in interacting with them, it may be discomforting for us because it's the unknown. It's unfamiliar. We can't relate to it in the same way that we would a human being, because it's not a human being. It's some other intelligence. It's some other entity. And so that can be a little frightening to us, but it doesn't mean it's malevolent. It doesn't mean it's demonic. And we tend to classify everything that's not the blue-eyed, blonde-hair angel with wings as demonic. So there's all these entities out there that we will encounter if we're serious about paranormal investigation and research, and if we're serious about communication with the other side. And they're not going to have this blue-eyed, blonde-haired angel appearance that we find pleasing. They may come in an appearance that, like if you see a gnome or a troll or something like that, that could be a scary thing for people. That's unusual. That's unfamiliar. The appearance is not as pleasing as we wish, but it doesn't mean it's demonic, and it doesn't mean it's out to hurt you. It's just, that's the way it looks. And I tell people, I say, look, you go to the pet store, you get a pretty little goldfish and you put it in a bowl. And there's nothing scary about the goldfish. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. Nothing frightening about it. Now go out in the ocean and encounter a shark.
Yeah.
That's scary. Okay. But it's still just a fish. It's still just doing what it does. Okay. And so a lot of these things that we encounter in the spiritual realm, they may be scary to us, but they just exist. They're just doing what they do. And I've encountered things that I remember one time on a motorcycle ride, I came up to this intersection and is out in the country, so a lot of visibility every way. And I'm always looking around me as I make my turns, and I'm doing things on the bike. And I see very clearly off to the side of the road, opposite the road where I'm going to make my turn. Nothing's there. I make the turn, habitually look back in my rearview mirror after I made the turn, and there's this long, tall, thin black obelisk standing there where I had just turned. I knew there was nothing there. It was there physically. It wasn't a vision. It was there physically. And this thing was maybe 8, 9, 10 feet tall and solid black, but it was aware, it was sentient, and it communicated that to me. And it communicated that, like, we're one of the beings that watch over you. And we just want you to know that we're here. We want you to see us, and we want you to know we're aware of you, and you need to be aware of us. And it was so strong. I wanted to turn my bike around and go back. And about the time that I decided to do that, there was traffic coming the other way on this road, and I couldn't turn around. And when I looked in my rearview mirror again, it had vanished. It was gone. Wow. But there's all types of odd things like that we can encounter. I saw a fairy one time. Didn't know if I believed in gnomes and trolls and fairies until I saw one. I was sitting outside at night looking up at the stars, and from across the street at our neighbor's house, just above their roof, I saw this glowing object heading toward our house. And I was like, what in the world is that? And as it got closer, it was a humanoid being, had face, hair, clothes, and these wings that were like, like a 3 or 4 foot wingspan. And it was flying with those wings, glowing. I don't know if it was an aura, if it was internally lit, or if it was an energy aura or light about it, but I could clearly see its features. It was glowing as it flew across the street, flew over the house, and I was just gobsmacked. And it's like, oh my God, they are real. I just saw one. And it took me a second to come to my wits, and I yelled and said, hey, come back. And it didn't. It went on. But, we can encounter all manner of things that are normal to this world, into the paranormal realm, into the spiritual environment. And so you have to be prepared and have to understand that, it's just like meeting somebody of a different race and a different culture. If you've never known anybody outside of your race and culture, and all of a sudden you become aware of other people out there, it's like, wow, it's a culture shock. And who are these people? And are they like me? And, there's this transition period of getting to know people and so on and so forth. It's just like there are still undiscovered tribes living on this planet for all our technology that have never interacted with modern man. Yeah. And every great now and then we find one of these tribes. And their usual response, especially if we're going over in a helicopter with a camera or something like that, their usual response is to grab the spears and chunk them at us. What the hell is going on here? So to them, it's like, we may be a demonic manifestation, but we're not. And so we have to get our understanding right in all of these interactions, and not let things hoodoo us unnecessarily.
Yeah, you're right. Now there is a tribe, the North Sentinelese, over off of India, and yeah, they that's exactly what they're going through at this moment. Now, when you say that, so we have probably 6 minutes to the end of the hour. Do you got a good one for us to take us there?
Let's see, 6 minutes. See what I can fit in 6 minutes here. Gosh, and it's like picking your favorite kid. How do you do that when you've got all these phenomenal stories? It's like, oh my goodness. Well, let's see, something that I can take us to the end of the hour with. Another time I was out on my motorcycle, and always keep an eye behind me because people will run into you. They'll rear end you and make you a hood ornament. And so I'm always looking behind as I ride, and there was this long country road, and I could see all the way down it behind me. Most roads here in Florida are flat and long, and you can see forever and a day. And I came up to this intersection, and I had been watching the road behind me, and I knew there was not anybody behind me. I knew there was no one on the road behind me. And there was no place in that area for somebody to have been on an off-road or a house or whatever and come onto the road behind me. There was no place anybody could have come from. So as I pull up to the stop sign, all of a sudden I become aware in my peripheral vision of this motion in my rearview mirrors on my bike. And I look, and there's this car sitting right behind me. Now, there was no car behind me for miles. I'm looking back on this straight road. There's no car there. As I come up to the stop sign, I habitually check my mirror again. There's no car there. No place for a car to turn on and come from anywhere and be behind me. But all of a sudden, this car is behind me. Solid physical car. And I can't see through the windows. I can't see through the windshield real good and see who's in it. But it's like, where did this come from? This car couldn't have come from any place because I'm looking. There's no car behind me. I'm really freaked out. So I wait for traffic to clear, and I turn again onto this long straight road. And the car turns and follows me. Starts coming in behind me. So I'm watching this car in my rearview mirrors because it's really got me freaked out. I'm saying, like, where did this car come from? I know there was no car there. I know there was nothing there. And I'm watching this car. And as I'm watching this car in my rearview mirror, everything grows kind of shimmery and kind of hazy, like when you see a heat mirage on the road, and it vanishes. Just totally vanishes, totally goes away as I'm watching it, as I'm looking at it. So I'm like, oh, okay, somebody that can manifest a car wants me to know that, hey, we're traveling with you. We're keeping an eye on you. So and we got a few minutes left. I'll tell you another car story. This buddy of mine and I, we were good drinking buddies. And we were coming home one night, and in my old West Texas neighborhood there, the house I lived in, and it was late at night, so no traffic around. And we pulled up to this stop sign, and this car just kind of appeared down the road there coming our way, and it was close enough we had to wait on it. And we both kind of looked at each other, where'd that car come from? And I don't know. So we were sitting there, and we were both pretty well into our cups. And my buddy goes, watch. He said, when this car turns, I'm going to turn on my bright lights, and I'm going to vaporize that car. And we were laughing, acting the fool, acting like idiots. And so the car turned. He turned on his bright lights. And Rob, so help me God, that car started vanishing. And we both saw it. And he turned off his bright lights, and the car came back and went on down the road, and we just had to sit there a minute. He couldn't drive. We couldn't even talk. And we looked at each other and said, did you see that? We're like, yep, saw that. So there's lots of wondrous things out there, my friend, for us to encounter.
Definitely. And man, you have made this Halloween very great, and I appreciate your stories, John. I would like, it's been a pleasure meeting you, and I would
been a pleasure
love
meeting you.
Definitely, I appreciate it, and I would love to, at some point in the future, sit down with an interview, maybe on After Hours, and have some conversation on this.
Absolutely, be happy to do that. I've enjoyed being here tonight. Appreciate all the listeners, everybody in the chat. Really nice to meet you, Rob, and absolutely holler at me, and we'll do it again down the road.
Definitely. And you want to tell everybody about your book, where they can find you?
Yeah, you can go to, if you want to check out just the books, you can go to johnrussellauthor.com. And I'll put that over in the chat, johnrussellauthor.com. If you want to get a reading or find out more about my psychic work, you can go to johnrussell.net. So johnrussell.net for the psychic, johnrussellauthor.com for the books. All the books are available online, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million. A lot of the independent stores carry them. So they're available everywhere online. You can get them at your bookseller of choice. They're all available now. The first 2 books are still in print. They're all selling well. And those books are Writing with Ghost Angels and the Spirits of the Dead, A Knock in the Attic, 20 Ways to Increase Your Psychic Abilities. And again, go to johnrussellauthor.com and you'll see all the titles there. You can click on each title. It takes you to a page specifically for that book. You can see the awards it's won, the endorsements it's gotten. My books have been endorsed by Uri Geller, George Norrie of Coast to Coast AM, Phyllis Galdi, publisher of Fate magazine. Mike Ricksecker has endorsed my books. And then all the editorial reviews and reader reviews are there for that book, as well as links to buy them at wherever you want to. So all that's available.
Definitely. Well, it's a pleasure being in the presence of the great John Russell here.
Oh, thank you. Bless your heart.
And yeah, it was great for me. And we got more to come for hour 3. So I appreciate you, John. You have a great rest of your night. Happy Halloween.
Thank you.
And
Happy Halloween, Rob. Good to meet you. We will talk again. And thanks, everyone. God bless everybody.
All right. It's time to pause for the cause with our last break of the night as we get ready to jump into hour 3 on this crazy, spooky Halloween night, only here on Spaced Out Radio. Oh, Paranormal. It's I gotta give it to Tamar, man. Canadian folklore. Giant, hairy, human-like creature. Yikes. Tamar, man, count that again. Your frequency to Spaced Out Radio, where we do what we do best. And what is that, you ask? We own the night. Happy Halloween. Thank you guys for coming. And I will see you this weekend on After Hours. Dave Scott is back tomorrow. You guys take care.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.